Diane in Denmark here, hooray! I don't have my pom-poms with me today. Got my little Danish flag, let me just put it over here. And I decided we would have a little kind of celebration today. Let me just push your wee back a bit, there we are, so we can see. This morning I was down for my skinny dip, you know, my winter bather. And I'm down skinny dipping in the Danish North Sea all year round. And I've done a video about that before, so you know all about that. And you'll also know, if you've been following my channel for a while, that, you know, in Denmark we have long dark winters, and sometimes, especially the month of January, we can have like a whole month and have like 20 hours of sunshine, you know, spread over the whole month. But this morning we were down having our skinny dip, and lo and behold, the sun came out, and you know, we're always like, oh, is it a bird, is it a plane? No, it's the sunshine, the sun is back. So I thought we'd have a wee celebration today, so I stopped off at the baker's on my bike ride home, because I thought I would tell you a wee bit about Danish pastries. Now, I've told you about hygge before. I've made a few videos about hygge, and hygge is the Danish concept of, you know, it's that kind of being in the moment and enjoying the moment, you know, slowing down instead of, you know, we're all rush everywhere, but just taking a moment to enjoy the simple things in life. You know, like when I'm down with my besties, you've seen that on Instagram, I post my picture and we've got a thermos full of tea and a little snack, and we're just enjoying that moment together, even though it's a grey day. Just looking at the clouds, what colour the sea is that day, are there black hooded gulls down there, are there seagulls, you know, just taking a moment to just be. Anyway, a lot of Danish hygge is to do with eating, of course, and as I said, I stopped off at the baker's on the way home. I always try and avoid it. Don't look at the baker's, don't look at the baker's, you know, when I'm cycling home. But today I thought, as it is, like the spring is almost here. I even saw some erantis in the garden this morning. It's a small yellow Danish flower, but I'll speak more about that later. Anyway, on to the Danish pastries. And I thought I would just give you a wee tour of some Danish pastries that we eat, the ones that we like in my family. And a few fun facts, and I wish you could be here with me, but I'm just gonna have to eat them on my own. Anyway, let's take a wee look at these. Let me see if I can move you back a bit so you can actually, because you don't need to see me, you should be looking at the pastries here. Can I get that? Okay, that'll do. Anyway, first of all, you probably in wherever you live have some kind of Danish pastries, or maybe you call them Danish. In Denmark, in Danish we say wienerbrød, and wienerbrød means bread from Vienna. Wiener from Vienna, brød is bread. And so for us they're not called Danish pastries, they're called Vienna breads. And the reason for that is they came from bakers from Austria. And it was something to do with, there was some kind of strike going on in the 1850s, 1860s, and bakers from Vienna came, and then, you know, the Danish bakers started making similar types of pastries. Lo and behold, we have wienerbrød. Now, most Danish pastries, it's the same thing, just dressed up in different ways. So Danish pastries are always made out of a yeast dough, and they'll have a lot of yummy butter in them, sometimes made with margarine, but the good ones are made with butter. And you know, I've told you about that before. We have this really fantastic expression in Danish which is called tentsmør. Now, if you're a butter lover like me, you will enjoy that one, because it means that tentsmør is when you spread butter so thick on a piece of bread that when you eat it, you can actually see your teeth marks in the butter. So I love tentsmør. So anyway, so it's a yeast pastry with butter, and then of course you'll have the different toppings. It'll maybe be a glaze, it'll maybe be some icing, chopped nuts, maybe some marzipan, jam, remonce, which is a mixture of marzipan, butter and sugar. Anyway, I'll just walk you through my favourite ones and something to watch out for if you're in Denmark visiting, what not to do. So I'll start with my favourite, and now you'll see these two pastries are the same, okay? This is called in Spandauer, so that's what I always ask for in the bakers, is I always ask for in Spandauer. And the Spandauer comes from, the name comes from Spandau, the area in Berlin. And I looked this up recently. It comes from, there was a prison, some kind of really bad prison in, I think it was some kind of, what do you call it, a torn, no, I can't remember the English word for it. Some kind of tall, oh, what do you call it? Doesn't matter. Anyway. And the Spandauer is based on the idea that the pastry is folded in so things can't get out like a prison. So anyway, this particular Spandauer is encasing jam. Can you see that there? So it's got jam in the middle, and then it's kind of rolled in so that the jam can't escape. And then it's got white icing on the top. I love white icing. I'm Scottish and we love white icing. And some chopped almonds. Now, when I go into the baker, I always ask for in Spandauer med syltetøj. Syltetøj is the word for jam. And this is probably raspberry jam. There's also another version. You see this? And this has got yellow in the middle, which is remonce, or actually this one isn't remonce, it's a type of custardy vanilla mix. And I don't like this one. I love the jam. I think it's just because I'm Scottish. I love jam and sugar and icing sugar, all that stuff. This one has a nickname, and it's called, okay, you might want to turn away now or close your ears if you don't want to hear it, if you're a bit squeamish. This one is called the baker's bad or infected eye. It's called Bern's betente øje or Bern's dårlige øje. And that's because it looks a bit like when you've got conjunctivitis or some kind of eye infection. So that's how you tell the two of them apart. I always ask for it in Spandauer med syltetøj. The other one is called Bern's dårlige øje or betente øje. Make of that what you will, but the name, even the name just kind of puts me off. So I'm not too into the yellow one. So that is our kind of basic Spandauer. And I said, that's my, oh, and hold on a minute, because I was going to tell you how much they cost, because that's important. Just hold on a minute, I'll grab my receipt. Right, found it. Yeah, so in Spandauer, that will set you back 15 Danish krone, which is crowns, which works out, I just converted it, that would be $2.50 American dollars, or about £1.80 in British pounds. Don't ask me what it is in bitcoins. If I hear one more thing about bitcoins, I'm gonna... Anyway, so that's your Spandauer. And as I say, this is my favourite one. And I can get really annoyed, you know, if I go into the baker and they give me the wrong one and I get home and I discover, oh, so now I always check my bag before I leave the baker's to make sure I've got the one with the jam in it. I don't want anybody's infected eye. Right, and then on to something, if you are looking for something maybe not quite as sweet, because those are incredibly sweet and incredibly good. Here we have, you know, of course we have kind of bread rolls, and there's different type of bread rolls. Some of them are called a tradesman, and other ones are called round bits, but I'll do a wee video about that another time. Today I'm on the sweet stuff, because we are celebrating, hooray, the sun coming back. Anyway, we have two here on the plate. Now this one here, I'll just move it to the side. This is called in birkes, and birkes means, is actually just the name for black poppy seeds. You know, different colour of poppy seeds, and this is called birkes. Birkes is poppy seeds. Now you can see it's, This is also a sweet dough. It's made from yeast. It's a wienerbrød. It's a Danish pastry dough. And it's kind of wrapped round, and there's a little bit of remonce, which is that mix of butter and sugar and marzipan. And I'll open it up for you because you can eat this just on its own. But when I have one of these, you know, if we're getting something from the baker at the weekend, I'll ask, you know, if my husband cycles down, I'll ask him to get one of those plus my spandauer, med please. Tack. So I'm just going to cut it open for you. You can see it's kind of layered through. And it puffs up, so it kind of has a hollow in the middle. Can you see that? It leaves their layers of air between, so it puffs up, so it's kind of hollow inside. And what I like to do is to cut it up like that. And this is the part that's really sweet because there's more kind of sweet stuff on the bottom. I like to spread that with butter, as if there wasn't enough butter in it to begin with. So that is your teebierkes. There's also a plain version of that if you're not into all the kind of sugary stuff, which is just called a bierkes, just a plain bierkes. But this is called teebierkes, you know, from tea, you know, a cup of tea. So that's called a teebierkes. And in Jutland, they call this one in Københavner bierkes, which is a Copenhagen bierkes. So it depends on the region, you know, sometimes what things are called. And then you'll see there's a lot of seeds falling off already. And then here, this one. Now this is a twisted pastry. Let me see, you can see that. Twisted. Now this is actually exactly the same dough which is made for the bierkes, or the teebierkes. But this is called something completely different and eaten in a different way. This is called en frøsnaper. Now that kind of confused me when I came to Denmark because frø is the name for a frog. And I thought it was, I don't know what I thought it was, if it was a frog's tongue or what it was. But frø just means seed. So, you know, any kind of seeds that you're planting in the garden, you'll call it en frø. But also means in a frog, because a diver is called a frog man, en frømand. So you see where the confusion comes in. Anyway, they take the same dough for this one and they just twist it and add some sesame seeds on the top, and that gives you your frøsnaper. Now, I'm going to give you a warning about this because I love these two things. And when I first came to Denmark, I would, you know, I'd go out on my own, kind of, you know, trying to find my way around town. And my husband had already started working back at his firm. And, you know, he would get home in the evening and he said, "Oh, have you had a good day?" And I'd be, "Oh, yeah, yeah." And he said, "Oh, have you been to the, you know, have you been out to a cafe or a baker's?" And I was like, "No, no, no, absolutely not." But I would smile and he could see all the black poppy seeds in my teeth. So I have learned that if you go to like a cafe, you know, during the day in Denmark, make sure that, you know, if you're visiting here and you're planning to do other stuff during the day, do yourself a wee favour and, you know, just buy a cheap toothbrush, keep it in your handbag, because the rest of the day you're going to have these poppy seeds stuck everywhere. It's happened to me 100 times. I don't do it any longer. I only eat these things at home, or I've got a little toothpick or something if I'm in town. So that's just a little warning to you if you are in Denmark and you don't want to end up with seeds between your teeth. So that was a teebierkes or Københavner bierkes, and then frøsnaper. So what frøsnaper actually means is it is in frø is seeds, or frø is seeds, and snapper at snappe in Danish means to grab or to snatch. So it is kind of snatching up all the seeds, and the same will happen to your teeth. So just to be warning about that. Now, last thing, I've got seeds everywhere and crumbs. Last thing is not wienerbröd. It's not a Danish pastry, but it is something that my son loves, my DS18, my dear son who's 18. And that was one of the things that he missed when he was in the States, and that was the first thing I bought from him for the bakers when he finally came home to us after a year in Washington State. Now this is hindbärsnitté, and in snitté is any kind of slice of something, and it's a bit similar to what we have in Scotland. My granny would make something that she would call Belgian biscuits or German biscuits. And what it is, now traditionally would be a bit lighter. This is from our local baker, and it's got a bit more kind of healthy flour and stuff in it. But you can see it's still, you know, covered in icing sugar and stuff. It's basically 2 layers of a very thin, crumbly biscuit base. And in the middle you have raspberry jam, because hindbær is the Danish word for raspberries. And then on the top you have icing, and it's normally kind of pink icing. In Scotland we have a similar thing which is called a Belgian biscuit or a German biscuit, and they're round with white icing and a cherry on the top. So you probably have something similar where you live. Anyway, this is my son's favourite thing. Normally they would probably be a bit smaller, but this is the really good one from our local bakers. And again, let me just check the price. A hindbærsnitté, this one will set you back about 17 Danish crowns, which is $2.83. Yes, it's expensive, but cost of living is expensive here in Denmark, and which is about £2 in UK pounds. So anyway, I've been talking enough. It's time for me to get the kettle on, and I am going to have, I'm not going to eat them all because I'm going to share them with the family, but I think I'm going to have a wee bit of tebirkes smothered in butter, and so I can make some tensmør, some teeth butter, and then I'm going to have a bit of my spandauer, which has got nothing to do with Spandau Ballet. Okay, so anyway, that was it for me, Diane in Denmark. I hope the sun is shining where you are. It's disappeared here, but the Danish weather gods are working on it, and the weathermen said it may come back again today. So let's hope for that. Anyway, what do I say? Just the normal thing. Live long and prosper. May the Danish hygge be with you, and I'll see you very soon. Okay, and I'll just straighten up. And I shall be back doing our declutter very shortly. Okay, bye for now.